As project managers, we know that the most valuable resource we have is time. That is why this course is strictly time-boxed. Welcome to Module 3 of the PMP Essentials Framework. In Module 2, we establish the people baseline. Now we move to the heaviest section of the exam, the process domain. This domain accounts for 41% of your exam score and contains 17 specific tasks. If the people domain is about who does the work, the process domain is about how the work gets done. And the critical variance here is that the exam expects you to know exactly how to execute these processes in both predictive and agile environments. So let's begin. Look at the matrix. The number one trap in the process domain is applying the wrong methodology's rules to a scenario. When you read a question, your first step is to identify the environment. If it's a predictive project, your process must focus on upfront planning, strict change control boards, and avoiding scope creep. If it's an agile project, your processes must focus on iterative planning, welcoming change even late in development, and continuous delivery of value. The exam will test your fluency in switching between these two execution methodologies. Task 1 is executing with urgency to deliver business value. In Agile, this means delivering minimum viable products, MVPs, quickly. In Predictive, it means executing the project management plan efficiently. Task 2 is managing communications. The rule here is simple. Communication issues are solved by reviewing or updating the communications management plan. If stakeholders complain they aren't getting the right information, do not assume you know that what they want. Consult the plan, assess the variance, and update the plan if necessary. Task 3 requires you to assess and manage risks. The critical exam concept here is that risks must be identified early, documented in the risk register, and assigned a risk owner. In Agile, risk is managed through short iterations and frequent reviews. Task 4 is engaging stakeholders. Note the terminology, engage, not manage. You cannot manage a stakeholder. You can only manage their engagement. If a stakeholder is resistant, your process is to analyze their needs using the stakeholder engagement assessment matrix and develop a targeted strategy to move them to a supportive state. Tasks 5, 6, and 7 cover the classic triple constraint: budget, schedule, and quality. For budget and schedule, you must understand earned value management, EVM, for predictive projects, and velocity or burn down charts for agile projects. For task 7, planning and managing quality, remember this axiom from PMs. Quality is planned in, not inspected in. The exam will penalize answers that rely solely on catching defects at the end. Your process must ensure the team builds the product correctly from the start. Task 8 is planning and managing scope. In predictive, scope is strictly defined in the scope, baseline, and the work breakdown structure, our WBS. In Agile, scope is fluid and managed via the prioritized product backlog. Task 9 is integrating project planning activities. The project manager is the ultimate integrator. You cannot delegate integration. If a change in schedule affects the budget, it is your job to integrate those impacts across all baselines and update the comprehensive project management plan. Task 9 is perhaps the most heavily tested process, managing changes. Look at the flowchart on the screen. In a predictive environment, any change to a baseline must go through the formal integrated change control process. The steps are always evaluate impact, identify alternatives, submit change requests to the Change Control Board (CCB), update baselines if approved. In an agile environment, changes are handled by the product owner simply reprioritizing the product backlog. There is no CCB in pure agile. Task 11 covers procurement. You need to know when to use fixed price contracts when scope is well defined versus time and materials or cost reimbursable contracts when scope is uncertain or agile. Task 12 is managing project artifacts. The exam tests your ability to ensure that all project documents, charters, plans, registers are updated, version controlled, and accessible to the team. An outdated artifact is a process failure. Task 13 requires you to determine the appropriate methodology. If requirements are clear and regulatory control is high, choose predictive. If requirements are unknown and innovation is required, choose agile. If it's a mix, choose hybrid. Establishing project governance on task 14. Governance provides the framework for decision making. The project manager must ensure the project operates within the organization's governance structure, including compliance, audits, and phase gate reviews. Task 15 is managing issues. Pay close attention to the visual. The exam will try to trick you by confusing risks and issues. A risk is an uncertain future event. It goes in the risk register. An issue is a current problem that has already happened. It goes in the issue log. When a risk materializes, your process is to update the risk register, move the item to the issue log, and execute the planned response. Task 16 is ensuring knowledge transfer. This means capturing lessons learned continuously throughout the project, not just at the end. In Agile, this happens during sprint retrospectives. Task 17 is planning and managing project closure. A project is not closed until formal acceptance is received, artifacts are archived, resources are released, and the final product is transitioned to operations. Do not skip the administrative closure processes. Here is the ultimate trap for the process domain. The exam will present a crisis and offer an answer choice that takes immediate action, like instantly approving a change or immediately firing a vendor. As a PM, your process must always be assess the impact first. If a stakeholder requests a change, you do not say yes, you do not say no. You say, let me evaluate the impact on the schedule, cost, and scope, and then we will follow the change control process. Assess before you act. Let's summarize the process baseline. First, your methodology dictates your process. Always identify the scenario, if the scenario is agile or predictive. Second, quality must be planned into the project from day one. Third, in predictive environments, unauthorized scope changes are forbidden. Everything goes through the CCB. And fourth, never take action on a change or issue without first assessing its impact on all baselines. The execution is complete for Module 3. Your action item now is to review the 17 process tasks in the Echo checklist you downloaded in Module 1. Ensure you understand how each task applies in both Agile and predictive environments. In the next module, we will tackle the final domain, the business environment, which accounts for 26% of the exam and focuses heavily on compliance and value delivery. Protect your study time, execute like a PM. I'll see you in module 4 and thank you for watching.